we go from your pension, we go to your portfolio, and now we go to probably your number one biggest expense at any age, whether you're a student or a parent, college. And Browne joins us today. Browne is spokesman at St. John's University, executive director of university relations. Welcome, fellow alumnus.
Good to be here with the St. John's
What do
guy.
they call us?
You're Johnny.
Alum. I used to be a red man. Now I'm not allowed to be a red man. And St. John's used to be the red men.
Red
person.
But now they're the red storm.
Red storm.
It was politically incorrect to be a red man, but you can still be a red skin. So I'm confused. But one of the things we want to talk about today was what's going on out in California. This legislation where they want to allow college players to sell their own memorabilia and sell their likeness and make some money. Me personally, I know St. John's is D1 baseball, D1 basketball, not football, but I feel like 90% of these college football players aren't going to the pros. 95% of them. Maybe they should be allowed to make some money while they're in college.
And that seems to be where the movement is headed. And thank you for having me. Starting in California with the Pay to Play Act, Governor Gavin Newsom, with much fanfare, signed that legislation on HBO with LeBron James on his show. And that really accelerated a conversation where should college athletes be compensated for their name, image, and likeness? The NCAA recently cleared the way for that to happen. They've started a working group to examine the issue. They want to get ahead of the California legislation that takes effect January of 2023. So this is a conversation that's bipartisan. There's a lot of different support down in Washington. And I think the federal approach is really the way to go, because what the NCAA is trying to avoid is a patchwork quilt of 30 different states having different rules for college athletes.
Right. So they're going to try to come down with one federal legislation. Quite the athlete in his own right is my co-host Frank Morano.
Never made it to the collegiate level.
Over there.
Yes.
What do you think about this stuff, Frankie
Well,
boy?
I'm all for this. I am curious, Brian, other than California, so far have any other states moved forward with legislation that allow athletes in those states to profit?
There's, last time I looked, there's up to 30 states that have either introduced or are looking to pass legislative this session, including New York. And the New York legislation goes even further than the California one, and it sort of puts a tax on schools looking at revenue and trying to get revenue from athletic programs to support student athletes. So those conversations are being had up in Albany, and we'll be part of those conversations. But most college programs don't generate revenue.
Well, it seems like that when you look at the NCAA basketball tournament, when you look at a lot of these big bowl games, you see crowds of fans, tens of thousands in some cases, filled with paying fans, all not only paying to get into the game, but paying for concessions.
Correct.
And this and that, and all the money that a lot of these college benefactors pay specifically to support the sports program, that we're not that far away from maybe paying college athletes directly. Is that something that you see as being in the offing?
I think it's part of the conversation, but I think one of the reasons the NCAA really wants to figure this out is because they want to stay away from the professionalization of college sports.
And John, Brian, I'm sorry to cut you off. We're having a little technical difficulty. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with a little more Liquid Lunch with Brian Browne right after this. Hey, welcome back. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulty. But Brian Browne joins us again. He's the spokesperson for St. John's University right here in New York. Campuses in Queens and Staten Island. Lovely campus in Staten Island. And Manhattan, might I add.
Yeah.
So, Brian, we were talking about, paying or at least allowing some of these college players to profit from their time in college academics.
Right.
And you said that there's going to, it seemed like there's going to be this patchwork of all different states and stuff making laws. And now the NCAA is coming out with hopefully some blanket recommendations before 2023. How does that affect St. John's? You got some Division I sports there.
Exactly. And St. John's part of the Big East, and we have Division I basketball. All our sports are Division I. But really what we're looking at is there's a lot of different sports. People hear St. John's, they think baseball, basketball, that kind of thing. But we have fencing and soccer and volleyball and lacrosse and tennis and all these student athletes. Should they be allowed to? Why can't the kid who's on the tennis team get compensated for maybe giving private lessons on the side? The NCAA presently would not allow that. We sell jerseys with our players' names on the back. why shouldn't they be allowed to get some compensation from that?
A couple crumbs would be
Exactly.
nice.
So NCAA is trying to really come together, modernize their rules to fit the current market, and really do something. But as you said earlier before the break, most college athletes are not going to go on to the next level. There's presently 500,000 student athletes across the country under the NCAA. 2% of them will go on to the next level.
Right.
So for many of these students, this is a way to supplement the generous benefits they're already getting with scholarship, books, meals, and apparel.
A lot of them, they're getting the scholarship, which sounds like it's a lot of dough, but I mean, it's no money in their pocket. They're getting a great education, but, has also been covered by the NCAA here and there. Many of them don't really benefit from that education because they're so engrossed in the sports that they're not actually getting the most out of it.
And again, the conversation continues, but one of the pros of this compensation idea is that you might get students to stay longer in school, thus complete their degree and better prepare themselves for a career after sports.
I didn't think of that, but that's wonderful. Before I let you go, can we get something going here with the Red Storm this year? I mean, the Big East is ripe for the taking. We got a new coach, and some of the guys from last year that were on the bench under Mullen, there seemed like there's some stuff happening.
There's a lot of good things happening. Off to a great start. Before the Big East play started, 0-2 so far in the Big East, but looking to rebuild and recover. And it's tough to rebuild in the Big East Conference. Every night is a battle. We're playing Georgetown tomorrow in D.C. and hoping for a win.
All right, well, good luck down there in the swamp. Good luck to all your work you're doing at St. John's University. I am proud alumnus of St. John's University. I loved it so much. I stayed an extra year. It took me 5 years to get out of there, but
that's
great
better than
place.
The national average.
And we just talked about it, but one of the finest buildings you're going to see on any campus is up at St. John's in Staten Island, the Kelleher Center.
That's right.
And unfortunately, Mr. Kelleher recently passed, but amazing family, amazing donors and sponsors and supporters of St. John's.
And the classic St. John's immigrant success story, and that continues. And this is a big year for St. John's, 150th anniversary this year, and next year, the 50th anniversary of the Staten Island campus.
Fantastic. We'll keep you posted on that. We're going to have you back, Brian Browne, and we're going to have you back in just a couple of minutes to see what the man on the street is happening. And then finally, Frank's going to correct all my mistakes in the WTF, What's the Facts, right after this.